everything is okay. And I have a really interesting topic today. So I'm going to wait for a few of you guys to join in. But I'm going to be talking about something that I don't normally talk about a lot on my pages at all, and that's relationships. And the reason why is because I try to make my YouTube channel and my social media accounts mainly focus on women's wellness, personal development, health. I try to make all of my content kind of geared around that. But if you take a step back and you really think about it, relationships are a big part of our wellness, right? We're all interconnected with each other, and the health of our relationships does impact our mood. It does impact the quality of our life. So it is definitely worth talking about. And that's today's topic: how toxic relationships change women and what to do about it. What to do if this is you. If you feel like a past relationship that you were in has changed you, that's what we're talking about today. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how to come back to yourself if that is in fact you. Okay? That's today's topic. Leave me a like on YouTube. I'm going to share this live stream on my blog, but that's today's topic: how toxic relationships change women and what to do about it, how to come back to yourself. I'm going to share the link, so give me 1 second. Okay. All right, I feel like this is a good topic. Hey, thanks for joining today's live. We're talking about how toxic relationships change women and what to do about it. So happy to see you back. Thank you. Thanks for watching. I felt like doing a live today. I'm going to share the link on my blog really quickly. I never talk about relationships, I just realized, so why don't we talk about that today? It's because I feel like there are already so many creators that spend time talking about relationships. We all know Cheer 7 and, all of these other viral creators that talk about relationships. So I kind of didn't want to join in on that, but I have a different take. So that's why I want to talk about it today. Let me share it really quick. We're all going to have something to say about this topic, I'm sure. I already know. Cheer 7 is toxic. Yeah, I don't know. I think she's really funny, and I think that her videos are meant to be taken like comedically, but I think if people are really following her advice like verbatim, like thinking she's 100% serious, I don't know if that's healthy. Like I don't know if I would recommend that. So, yeah, if you're just joining today's live, we are talking about 5 signs your last relationship changed you and how to come back to yourself. And I'm somebody that tries to avoid talking about relationships, period, but if you think about it, it's totally connected to women's health, so why not bring it into a channel that's dedicated toward personal development. Hey, Jasmine, what's up, girl? Okay, book recommendations. What am I currently reading? I share a bunch of them in my other lives. Right now, I'm reading this book by Anais Nin, and it's not like on the self-help tip or personal development. It's kind of like fiction, and she kind of writes like diaries. She's an artist, and I just love her books. She has a ton of volumes, and personally for me, that's my favorite author of all time. So if you guys really want to get into like the way I view the world and stuff and like art, I definitely recommend checking out Anais Nin. Anais, and then her last name is Nin, Nin. She has volumes where she has volumes of books where she basically publishes her diaries. It's literally, not to get too nerdy, but it's the whole reason I started my blog, because I was like, that's so cool that somebody made their diaries public and made that like their career. I think she ended up doing lectures and stuff. Like, she's really cool. And I try to follow the careers of women that I find interesting. So I love her. She's probably my favorite author of all time if you really want to get into it. So I recommend her books. I'm reading that right now. I also I was I didn't finish it. I was reading this book by the same author of The Untethered Soul. That book is super popular. He has 2 though. I forgot what the title of the second one is, but I was reading that one, but I haven't finished it because now I'm reading Anais Nin. But you love her? Okay, glad. I'm happy that you know who she is. A lot of people don't know. But a lot of quotes that are really famous are by her and people don't even know. I'm like, give my girl credit where it's due. You have such great taste in books. Thank you, sophisticated lady. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining in. Thanks for joining today's live. We're talking about, hey YouTube, thanks for joining. I see all your comments. How's it going? It's going well. Hi Bree. Thank you. Thank you. We're talking about how toxic relationships change women. I'm going to give you guys 5 signs that your last relationship changed you and what to do about it. Because we don't want to stay in this place forever where we are thinking of all of the bad things that ever happened to us, especially in relationships, counting every little thing that ticked us off or reminiscing and playing all of those memories back. What matters more is how we are going to move forward, what we are going to do now with the things that our past relationships have taught us, and how happy we feel with our relationships, how fulfilled we feel with our relationships is what contributes to our mood. It really affects our life, it affects our emotional health, so why not talk about it? This live stream is not pre-recorded. We are live now today on TikTok and on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to my TikTok, subscribe to my TikTok. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You guys know what to do. All of my links are always below my live streams as well after it gets posted. Okay, number 1 sign that your past relationship changed you, or that your past toxic relationship changed you, or toxic dynamic changed you is, this one is probably going to be the most obvious of my 5 tips, but number 1, you stopped taking care of yourself the same way. That is my number 1 tip. 1 second. Okay? That is the number 1 sign, I would say, how you can know that a relationship changed you. And sometimes this is not even a romantic relationship. This can be a friendship, okay? It can be anything like that, where the relationship affected you so much that you started neglecting how you look. You started neglecting your appearance. And it goes beyond appearance, just generally not taking care of yourself in the same way. So if you want to go beyond, cool, it's letting me resume it. I'm not sure why it broke up. Let me know. Cool, it's letting me resume it. I'm not sure why it broke up. Let me know that you could still see me and hear me. Sorry about that. But yeah, the number 1 sign that your past relationship affected you, that your past toxic relationship affected you, is that you stopped taking care of yourself the same way. And this doesn't necessarily have to mean that you stop doing your makeup every day, you stop doing your hair every day. Although that can definitely be one way that it shows up. It can look like this too. It can look like, sorry, it can look like maybe not you stopped cleaning your house. Like if you're somebody who's really into like cleanliness, maybe you stopped caring so much about your household that you stopped cleaning. Or if you're somebody that's really into working out and eating clean and that was like a big part of your personality, then after a toxic relationship happens, or a relationship that wasn't aligned happened, you can find that maybe you're not so consistent with how you're eating, with going to the gym. That's the number 1 sign and the number 1 thing that I've seen is that you stop taking care of yourself the same way. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're lazy. Emotional exhaustion changes the way that women carry themselves. So it actually makes a lot of sense that you might not have the energy to do things that you used to enjoy, because sometimes our relationships can either give us energy or take energy away. And if you have experienced a toxic relationship, it makes a lot of sense that you might not have the energy to upkeep things that you used to enjoy. But we do have to start to rebuild this sense of having care for ourselves. We don't want to live life on this mode where we are just letting go, not caring at all, because it it's one thing if you do that for a short period of time, but if you take your foot off the gas for a long time, your life can literally change. It can unravel. The easiest and most common example I can think of how this plays out is if you just stop caring for your health. What happens? You gradually let go of your health, and if that continues for a long time, you can experience major consequences, right? So that is the number one sign that your last relationship changed you, is that you stopped taking care of yourself in the same way. And I encourage you to think beyond grooming and appearance. It can be any way that you previously used to care for yourself that you no longer do. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for joining today's live. Hey, Senegal. We're live on YouTube and on TikTok. We're talking about how toxic relationships can change you and what to do about it. Okay? So sometimes you stop taking care of yourself in the same way, not because you're lazy, but because you are experiencing emotional exhaustion. And that can affect the way that you carry yourself. How do we approach this? How do we approach rebuilding this? We start by rebuilding trust with ourselves through tiny acts of care, through little things every day, whether it be making your bed, cleaning up your space, being a little bit more mindful of what it is that you're eating, doing your hair. I know that's so silly and it sounds like it probably doesn't do anything, but it really does. Like, I don't know why, like, just putting a little bit of attention on your hair and your looks, even if it's like 10 minutes in the morning that you previously did not do, it does change the way that your day progresses. Okay, so little things like that, that's something that I had to start doing. Was even on days that I'm not super busy, like maybe I don't have that much going on, I'm doing errands or I'm even just at home, I will still take that moment to make myself look presentable. Why? For me. And what happens is that you end up feeling more open, and your energy changes, and your energy controls the way that your day goes. And how your day goes leads into how your next day goes, how your week goes, how your month goes, right? Confidence comes back gradually through consistency. And what happens if you are somebody who has experienced being in a toxic relationship is that your energy feels drained, and unfortunately, your confidence can be affected by relationships like this. And that's one of the consequences, right? But you can rebuild it. You just have to decide internally that you are worth it, that you deserve those extra few minutes in a day to prepare yourself, that you are worth having a clean space, that you are worth, eating clean for. You are the person that has to decide that for yourself. How to start a YouTube channel and earn. Could you share your experiences? If you want to start your channel, you definitely should. Just have a plan for what you want your content to be about and try to be consistent so that you can build it up. Right now, I mean, the algorithm on YouTube's constantly changing. So I know shorts are a good way to grow your channel. And you can also, I think it's not really worth it if you upload daily. I think that actually works against your channel, but there are tons of things you can do to grow. I encourage you to look into that. If you want to start your channel, you definitely should. All right. So that's the number one way that toxic relationships can affect you, is that you stop taking care of yourself the same way. And you can rebuild that, especially through consistency. Okay. All it takes is those little decisions that you do every day. The number two way that a toxic relationship can change you, can affect you, and how to come back to yourself is that number two sign that you became hypervigilant. Oh my gosh, I have so many examples of this. I could talk about this for such a long time, but this is a very clear sign that you might have experienced a toxic relationship, is that as in the aftermath, you have become hyper vigilant, meaning you've become somewhat paranoid. Like, you're almost expecting the worst to happen. I know a lot of people can relate to this. If you're enjoying today's live, leave me a like on the live stream. Leave me a like on the live stream on TikTok too. if you're enjoying it, so that this video can be shared with more people. This channel is all about women's wellness and personal development, so I'd really appreciate your engagement. What do I think of the NFL schedule? I don't watch football, and today's topic is recovering from toxic relationships. So, the number two sign that you have experienced a toxic relationship, or that you're still experiencing some of the aftermath, is that you became hyper vigilant. And this was definitely something I've experienced. And how that can look, it's very subtle, but you'll notice when you're behaving in ways that are unlike you, okay? And how hypervigilance shows up is that you become basically overly analytical or overly critical. You overanalyze everything, whether it's texts or somebody's tone, or maybe you try to fill in the blanks if somebody's silent towards you or you're on top of an energy shift. Sometimes it's just a sense of hypervigilance. And this is a side effect of going through a relationship that was draining, is that you naturally start to basically scan your environment for danger. And you start to look at people very closely, because what is your body trying to do? What is your mind trying to protect you from? It's trying to protect you from going through something similar. So it's kicked into overdrive, and you are like monitoring so closely, to the point where you're bordering on paranoia when you become hyper vigilant. And how we can come out of this, if you are experiencing this symptom of hypervigilance after a toxic relationship, is that you need to gradually teach your body that love is not something you need to monitor to constantly keep. You don't need to monitor people in order to experience love. You can let go, you can relax, and you can let things fall where they may. Again, it starts with a decision that you have to allow yourself to not be so hyper vigilant, to not try to read people's minds, trying to get into people's minds, see what it is that they're thinking, being on top of every little action, every little word, trying to make things mean something that it doesn't. Okay, we've all been there. We've all been there. It's normal, but it's not healthy. And it is definitely a common symptom of the aftermath of being in a toxic relationship. Okay, so that is definitely the number two way that we can experience. That is the number two sign that your last relationship changed you, or that a toxic relationship changed you, is that you became hypervigilant. You overanalyze text, tone, silence, energy shifts, but what you need to do to break that pattern, to break that loop, is to teach your body and your mind that love is not something you have to monitor constantly to keep. You do not have to play that role in anyone's life of being on top of them, of trying to be in control of every single situation. Like, just even thinking about it and talking about it literally makes me tired. Like, give yourself permission to not be in control all of the time. Like, you deserve to relax. You deserve to let go. You deserve to feel free. I think I have both signs. Is there a fix? We all have all of these signs at some point in our life. I'm trying to touch on the workaround, and I'll probably do another video that's more oriented on the solutions. But for the first one, if you stop taking care of yourself the same way after a relationship like that, just remember that confidence is built through consistency. So even a small thing that you can do for yourself every day, it doesn't have to be regarding your looks. Like, generic advice will tell you, like, just do your hair and your makeup. Like, sometimes that's not gonna hit the spot. Like, that's not gonna be what really helps in that moment. So maybe on a day like that, you choose something else. Maybe on that day, you go somewhere and you get yourself a sweet treat. You get yourself something that you like. Like, you do something that you enjoy for yourself, not to perform it for other people, but genuinely for yourself. Go do something. Go get a massage, clean your room, make your bed. even the smallest things, like clearing the clutter in your room, it reminds you that you are worth living in cleanliness. You are worth living in a space that has order, right? I don't feel like doing anything and getting out of bed. Sometimes maybe that's your body trying to tell you something, that you need rest, right? But all of these symptoms are common. That's why I'm talking about it. And it's not just you, okay? Thanks for joining today's live on TikTok and on YouTube. Leave me a like if you enjoyed today's topic. I know a lot of people can relate to this. That's why I want to talk about it today. And it's not just you, there are things that we can do, okay? We want to break the patterns of neglecting ourselves that happens after toxic relationships, because they have a way of breaking down our confidence, right? Of making us question ourselves, of making us doubt ourselves. But nobody can get into your body and take care of it for you. Nobody can get into your mind and do that kind of inner work that it takes to recover aside from you. So you need to make a conscious decision to show up, even if it's a small thing that you do for yourself. Going for a walk for 10 minutes, doing your hair, going out, getting a sweet treat that you really like. Finding little ways to romanticize your life is worth it, right? Let me know if that makes sense on TikTok and on YouTube. Number three sign that your last relationship changed you and how to come back to yourself. Ladies, I already know this one is highly, 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 highly relatable, okay? A lot of us have done this. Maybe in the past it was more common, but I know this happens, okay? Is that you start confusing attention with love. I literally have a video on my YouTube channel. Hey, thanks for joining today's live. I literally have a video on my channel that talks about this a little bit more, about why attention is not love. Yet, it's very common that people confuse this, but especially after a toxic relationship or after a failed relationship, a failed talking phase, a failed dating phase, you start to confuse attention with love. How does this show up? We already know. We already know how this shows up. Number one way that this shows up, that desire for attention, everybody has their unique ways, don't get me wrong, that they prefer to seek validation. But one of the most common, the Instagrams, post that picture, get that like, get that hit of validation, start hitting up everybody. Because why? Because now you're confusing attention with love. And I'm making light of it, but this is actually something that happens a lot, and there's a reason behind it. It's because when you experience inconsistency, which is what happens in toxic relationships, it kind of trains you to just not expect much. Sometimes inconsistency trains your nervous system to chase validation. So it's almost like you're even more vulnerable to needing that sense of like somebody approving of you. That's what validation is needing approval, needing somebody to tell you that you are pretty or whatever the case might be for you. Hey, thanks for joining today's live. Leave me a comment on this topic if you enjoy this video, if you want to see more like this. This is a channel for women's wellness and personal development, and today we're talking about obviously breaking the patterns of toxic relationships, but what to do practically to move forward if you are in the aftermath of a relationship like that. These are the common signs that occur and what to do. Okay, so we're on tip number 3. If you missed the first 2, rewind, watch the beginning. Okay, number 3 sign that you have let this past relationship change you, or you have let a toxic relationship change you, is that you confuse attention with love. Inconsistency trained your nervous system to chase validation. Makes sense. But the alternative, this is the mindset that we want to get ourselves into. You want to start paying attention to how people make you feel after interactions, not just whether or not they desired you or found you attractive. Because a lot of the time, what are we seeking validation for? most of the time it's our looks or something superficial, right? But we want to start getting our sense of confidence from the person that we are, from our real life interactions, right? Let me know what you guys are thinking. Any comments? Okay. It's best to isolate oneself after a toxic relationship to heal instead of doing more damage. Hurt people, hurt people. Okay. That's a really interesting comment. I know what you're getting at. You're saying that it's better to not inflict the same pain that was given to you to other people, which I agree with. And if more people thought that way, the world would be better because a lot of people didn't get that memo. But community is also very important because you need people to brainstorm with, to bounce ideas off of, especially after something has happened. You don't want to write yourself off from relationships completely, which is definitely something that happens when we experience toxic relationships. And the more that we share with each other in community, the more that people learn, right? So complete isolation isn't always the answer, but there are definitely seasons that we need isolation for sure. Okay, 1 second. Okay, if you're just joining today's live stream, we're talking about 5 signs your last relationship changed you and what to do about it. And I feel like we can all get in on this. Like everybody can relate to this on some level. Okay, someone said, isolation isn't healthy for anyone, unless you mean not dating right away. I do think he meant not dating right away. Constant isolation is not healthy for everyone. That's definitely true. That's what I was trying to say too. Okay. The way you're explaining this is so well. You're so very well versed. Thank you. Thanks for joining today's live. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. The more you guys engage and add to the conversation, the better it is. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself, which I'll happily do, but it's more fun when you guys join in. Isolation leads to elevation. Why do you think monks do isolation training? Okay, this is where I think there's difference, right? There's isolation and then there's solitude. Sometimes we use isolation as a weapon against ourselves because prolonged isolation is actually really, really harmful. But seasons of solitude, which is what I think monks do when they go into solitude for a purpose, can be really helpful and help your personal development, right? Isolation is what the toxic ex would want anyways. Okay? See, I think we're getting to something, right? They want, like, being separated from community isn't always a positive thing. Monks aren't isolating for love, LOL. What do you know about Arsenal FC? I don't watch soccer and this isn't a sports channel. Hello? The candle. Isolation leads to extremism. We want to avoid extremes. That, I think we can all agree that we want to avoid extremes, right? Okay. Number 3 way that your last relationship changed you, or that your last toxic relationship changed you, or your last toxic dynamic changed you, is that you confuse attention with love and you seek validation, meaning you seek attention, you seek approval from other people in place of a relationship where you did not get your needs met. Now you're trying to get your needs met in a way that might not be healthy via seeking or confusing attention. Seeking attention isn't necessarily always toxic, but confusing attention with love, that's where things get a little bit tricky, right? Okay, we're almost done. Okay, 5 signs your last relationship changed you and how to come back to yourself. Number 4, your confidence became performative. This is when we're showing off, but inside we're not really feeling it like that. Like influencer in the wild type thing. Like you're cheesing in the photo, but inside you're not really happy. You're not as happy as that photo is making you seem. You're not as happy as that post is looking, right? it's starting to become a performance. You're performing being happy. You're performing being sociable. You're performing being confident, right? There's a line between fake confidence and real confidence. And a lot of the times when we are recovering from a relationship that was draining, or even a friendship that was draining, we can enter into these performative cycles. And these performative cycles definitely separate us from ourselves if they go on for a long time. So, how this performative confidence can look is that you look fine externally, but internally you don't feel grounded or you don't feel enough. Real confidence is built privately, okay? Real confidence is built through what? How do you guys build your confidence? Let me know in the comments. But it's not a performance, right? It's not something that you can really fake. It's something that you have to build over time through how you respect yourself, through discipline, through the promises that you keep to yourself. That's how you build your confidence, right? Um, Isolation is a killer, but it doesn't have to be. Isolation can be homely. Isolation and solitude, right? I think we're referring to solitude, definitely. I think sometimes we can all need and experience seasons. What are we talking about? We're talking about recovering from toxic relationships and 5 signs your last relationship changed you and what to do about it. Okay? So the number 4 sign, the fourth sign that your last relationship changed you, or that you were changed by a toxic relationship. And the reason that we're talking about this, guys, is because ignoring things doesn't equal a solution. Like a lot of times, sometimes we feel that if we just don't look at something or we don't pay attention to it and we just keep moving on with our lives, that time is enough to help us move on, to help us heal from things, right? Which it's not completely untrue. Time definitely does help. Time heals some things that, you know, there's no other solution for. But if you can bring conscious awareness to these aspects, especially if these signs resonate with you, and try to combat them or change them, that's personal development work, right? Is this a frequent topic? Might have to sub. This channel is all about personal development and wellness. So that's definitely a recurring theme. That's an interesting question. How did I build confidence? I have never analyzed that till now. You guys let me know what makes you feel confident. I want to know. You know, sometimes you see those street interviews where they're like, what makes you confident? What makes you guys confident? You guys let me know, because I have a feeling that it's not something that's superficial. Real confidence is built through really seriously loving who you are as a person. Okay, as a person. That's what confidence is. And that's why it makes people mad sometimes when you have real confidence and not fake confidence. Okay, because if you are confident, like, no matter how you look, that's real confidence. Okay, I have a video on my TikTok, I think, where it's like, if you don't, how did I phrase it? I was like, if you don't love yourself at any size, do you really love yourself? And I was talking about this Megan the Stallion song where she's like, I look good chubby, I look good slim. I'm like, period. Like, I really feel that way too. Like, I don't really care. Like, because that's what confidence is. Like, the person that you are doesn't change. Maybe the way that you physically look changes, but that's not where your confidence really comes from. You know what I mean? Let's see what you guys are saying. Um, I love it. So I subbed. Thanks for subscribing. I hope to see you here again soon. Okay, thank you. I'll be around. Period. Subscribe. When I make people laugh. Okay, so making people laugh makes you confident. I love that. Having a sense of humor. That's awesome. I have fake confidence. We all have fake confidence sometimes. We go in and out. She is thought provoking. This is my first experience in her streams. Thanks for joining today's live stream. Financial stability finally gave me confidence, to be honest. Honestly, yeah. And that's not something you can fake, right? That's something that you had to build over time. So my guess, about why that made you feel confident is because over time you showed up for yourself. You had a structure that you followed, you had a sense of discipline, you stuck to it, and you saw your results manifest into something physical, which is financial stability. So that makes a lot of sense. And it adds to the point that real confidence is built throughout time through keeping promises to yourself. And also, since you brought up financial stability, I can see why that makes you feel more confident, because what happens is that it takes you out of survival mode. Do you play the piano? I do play piano. I'm an artist. And I'm a life and health coach. Okay. So back to today's topic. Thanks for your comments. The number 5 signs that your last relationship changed you, 5 signs that your last toxic relationship changed you, and how to come back to yourself is that your confidence became performative. So you look fine externally, but internally you don't feel grounded, or you don't really feel like you're enough. And real confidence is built privately through self respect, boundaries, discipline, keeping promises to yourself, the way that you guys mentioned in the comments about what it is that makes you confident. Those that's the real way that you build it up. Showing your self-respect by accomplishing such a huge goal as well. Yes, consistency builds confidence. That, for me, I think that's the way that I build confidence, is through achievements and accomplishments, because it's just not something that you can fake. And I saw this TikTok the other day about how like fitness is one of those things that still feels fair, because the results show based on hard work in a time where, hard work doesn't always equal results. Like, I think they were talking about like the economy, but they were referring to how fitness still feels like one of those spaces where your hard work pays off. So when you said that, like showing your self-respect by accomplishing such a huge goal is how you build confidence. I agree, and I really feel like I see that in fitness and in wellness, because hello, muscles, like you have to show up every day for that. That's not just something that you do one day and you have it, right? Okay. Thanks for joining today's live stream. Let me know if you're enjoying today's live on TikTok too. Leave me a comment if you're enjoying it, or leave me a heart on the screen. We're about to wrap it up. If you guys missed the first 4 tips, make sure that you go back and watch the video from the beginning. You will see all of my relevant links down below, whether it's my blog, my services. You can find it underneath this video. Number 5. Number 5 sign that your last relationship changed you and how to come back to yourself is that you abandoned your standards. And this can show up in so many ways, but what I'll say is that when you abandon your standards, it shows up in the things that you tolerate, or the behaviors that you tolerate from people. Like, that just says a lot without saying anything at all. The things that you allow into your life, into your space, the things that you're tolerating, that can affect your confidence. And that is definitely a symptom of abandoning your standards. When you start to entertain and tolerate things that might not necessarily be giving you respect, or might be draining you in some way, right? Number 5 way that you might be experiencing the aftermath of a toxic relationship is that you abandoned your own standards. And we all have different standards, but how this can look is that you tolerated things that disconnected you from yourself, probably, right, in the past. And how we can combat that is understanding that healing is returning to the person that you were before you entered into that state of survival mode, because you're not really yourself when you are in survival mode. Survival mode tells us that we have to what? Be small, shrink, hide our standards in order to keep the person, in order to keep love, right? It's a worthiness wound, abandoning your standards. So that's something that we have to be conscious of too. Okay? Hey from Germany. Hey, Germany. Thanks for joining today's live. If you missed it, please go and watch it from the beginning. And if you enjoy it, subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to be more consistent, so I appreciate any engagement. But yeah, thank you guys for watching today's live stream. I have tons of personal development and wellness videos on my channel. So go and check those out if you like this one. I'm sure you'll find something else that you enjoy. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.